Okay, we are back. It's another beautiful winter day in Calgary. As promised, we're going to keep going on the 4L80 build. So today, we did get the Torrington bearing that I was waiting for. That's this guy right here. And that is going to go down to the bottom of the case. So we're going to show how we're going to rollerize this transmission. We're going to go over everything that we need to do basically for the stage 3. So there's a pump mod, there's a couple seals that we have to leave off, and there's a couple passages that we have to plug. So stay tuned, and I'll go through all those with you. So the first part we're going to go over is the direct drum here. As you saw earlier, we figured our clutch stack and we got all that sorted out, but now we have to make some actual modifications to the drum itself. And I did already have this piston in here and then realized that I need to show what I'm doing to it. So there is a little bit of installation petroleum in there, but basically if you see right down in that edge there's a small hole. We do that basically just to make it so the piston isn't going to apply with centrifugal force. So that's just kind of like a little bleed hole. It's like a controlled bleed type thing. And then the other thing that we have to do in here for direct feeding it is we actually leave a seal. So right in here, you can see there's normally a seal that goes in there. And what that does is actually separate this portion of the piston from this portion of the piston. Now when we dual feed, basically we want all of the piston to have hydraulic fluid applying it. So we're actually going to combine those two circuits, and this is the first step of it. Leave off that seal, and I'll show you the other steps as we keep going. Next piece we're working on is going to be the center support. So that's this piece here. Normally you've got these springs that go here, and then the snap ring goes on there to return the piston, but I haven't put it on yet, just because it's a little easier to see right now. So like I said, the dual feed that we've been doing, we are combining the forward and the reverse passage for the direct drum. So there's usually 4 rings on here, 1, 2, 3, and then there's normally one right there. But we leave that off because that's what separates those passages. And then the other thing we have to do is plug our reverse passage right there. So I got a set screw in there. Make sure that it's not, you want it to be countersunk in there, so it's not going to interfere with the sealing of this at all on the case, because this slips into the case, and then those 3 bolts come through right here. So we've got that all done. We resized the rings, so we are trucking right along. Next up, I just got to do a little bit of housekeeping. So basically, I'm going to pull the rest of the guts out of this one and just kind of set it aside so that I can get that case back on the stand, and we can start putting it all back together. So we're going to do the rollerize the output and measure for our end play, rear end play and all that. I'll show you that. And then, surprise, we have a stand now. So hopefully I can use that to put the phone on and maybe show things a little better than trying to like hold it with one hand and measurements and such. So that's exciting. All right, got them switched around, took everything out of the old one. Looks okay. I'm gonna have to go through it, obviously. I'm probably gonna do that off camera. I think I really only need to build or like show the main differences from a regular build for this. So we've got our case that we're gonna be using for our 2-wheel drive unit on here. I just pounded out the case bushing and took the seal out, and then I pounded a new bushing in. And the first thing that we have to kind of watch is you see how that bushing is just protruding from there a little bit. I measured it's about 90 thou out, which is what you want because you want it to be able to capture the spacer and the Torrington bearing that we're about to put on. So spacer, shim, same kind of deal. Basically, we're just going to be using a 20 thou one to kind of guess in the ballpark, and then we'll measure and see where we're at. And then here's our Torrington. So you go black side down. So throw this in here, right like that. Spacer down, shim down, bearing down. So as you can see, it captured. So the bearing's not going to like move all over the place or anything, but obviously it's further down the lip. So the shim and the bearing together is about 160 thou, and we're about 90 thou out. So we've got plenty of room. The bushing is not actually going to interfere with anything there. Here is our lower gear unit and center support, I guess you would call it. Basically, that's everything kind of assembled that we're going to need to check our rear end play. I also got the little tiny thin ring that the center support, I guess, kind of just sits on it. I think it's more of just like a support. And then we got our bearing, Torrington bearing, and the shim down there. So I'm going to lower this lower gear train in, and then we will check our end play. Careful not to hit your bearing. You want everything to slide down nice. There we go. Now we even lined it up first time. Nice. Okay. Now that's lowered in there. Through here, it's all the way through. Center support bolt is lined up. Install this beveled snap ring. I'm not sure if you can really see there. Maybe. No. Oh yeah, there you go, right there. See how it's got a bevel? So the flat side needs to go down. Okay, we got that down in there. You always want to check to make sure that it's all the way in. So you see it going around there. So I will usually just use a screwdriver right between here. And then that way you know that it's all the way in. Alright, kind of getting used to my stand here, but so basically what we've done is we just flipped the transmission up. We've got that snap ring in there, so everything is contained, nothing will come out. And what we're going to do is check our end plate. A lot of guys use, they'll like pry up on this and use a dial indicator, but I have found that if you just, especially because we have the Torrington bearing in there, I can just kind of go in between the Torrington bearing and just see about how much we've got. So I did a little bit of this off camera, I think. So it was a little, like 15 I couldn't quite get in there, and 10 it was like, you know, a little loose. So I've got 13th thou here. Just gonna make sure that that will go in, which it does. So that feels like about 13 thou of end play, which is well within spec. In fact, most of the other ones that I've built have been between about 15. So this one's a little tighter, but you actually can go a little tighter with the Torrington bearing in there. It doesn't have you know, the same issues that having super tight clearances would have with a thrust bearing. Didn't get as much done as I wanted to last night, so here we are next morning. We've let the clutches soak all overnight, so those are all good to go. And I did happen to, an acute observer will notice that I changed out the case bushing again. I was waiting for this no-walk bushing to come in. They're a lot thicker than the other ones that were in there. And they finally came in, so I pounded the other one, new one out that I'd put in, and I got this one in, so everything's all set up. Tolerances and all that won't change because tolerances go off of the surface that this sits on, not where the bushing is. Alright, got our intermediate clutch stack in there. Obviously you do the wave plate, and then steel, clutch, steel, clutch, steel, clutch, so on and so forth. One thing that I wanted to show you is on all these transmissions we upgrade the intermediate snap ring. So basically this is going to go right down on top of that pressure plate, I guess you'd call it. And as you can see, this one is much beefier than the stock one. And basically that's one failure that can happen, is that you'll get enough force where it'll actually break that snap ring, and then those clutches will no longer engage properly. So we just put this thicker one in there, and holds a lot more power. Alright, we got that intermediate snap ring in there. You definitely got to pay extra close attention on that one just because it is a thick ring. Sometimes it won't engage all the way in the little teeth, but this one's good to go. Next up, we're going to put our front band in, and it just kind of goes down and clicks on there. Okay, front band in. Make sure you've got it pointing so that, you know, the pin can come through here and engage it. If you got it backwards, it won't work. Next up, we have our direct drum. One thing that I like to do to make it just a little easier to install is this is the piece off the forward. It just makes it a lot easier to grab when you're trying to drop it down in here a little ways, get it in between the band, and then make sure that all the little teeth line up. So one other thing I'll do is I kind of just straighten those teeth. Yeah, it kind of helps a little bit. It's still a little bit of a process though. There it is. So now we know it's in there all the way. So that's a snap ring, and then like I said, this is the piece that actually goes on the forward. So we'll put that back where it's supposed to be. And then we will install our direct plate. Okay, make sure it's in all the way. We're good to go. Just show you what it looks like down in there with the direct in there with its proper pressure plate. So the next thing we're going to do is line up all those clutches in the direct, and then the forward has to slide into those. So it's going to be a fun one as well. Before I get too far ahead of myself, I just wanted to show one other thing that we are upgrading here. So this is going to be Sonic's Extreme Duty Forward Clutch Hub Kit. So this is a lot stronger piece. This is something that apparently can explode or do a lot of damage to the transmission if you haven't upgraded that piece. And it does come with a Torrington bearing here. So rollarizing more pieces, less parasitic loss in the transmission. Got our Torrington bearing here held on with some petroleum jelly so it won't fall off, hopefully. Usually I just kind of work up and down a little bit while slowly turning it. There's another one. Should just be one left, I think. Maybe two. Some people are a lot better at this. Well, at least on YouTube. Maybe it's camera magic, I don't know. Okay, there it goes. Kind of got that thud. Alright, next up we got to put our fourth clutch or drum in there. Clutches on the drum, I guess. Clutches are in the drum. And we got to watch this hole, make sure we line it up. It should just drop in there pretty nice once I get it in the spot where it wants to be. There it goes. And there she's clicked in. There is this little pin right there. Will line up with this piece that goes on here on top of the clutches, so you know that you got it in the right place. And then when you look, the little hole that goes straight through here, you can see, well, you probably can't see without any light, but it's lined up.